What up, YouTube? I just finished having the best 7-day stretch of tournaments I've had in a long time. It included two big victories, one being a $550 150k guarantee for $30,000, a 220 50k for 10 grand, and then I also final tabled the biggest tournament of the week that I played was a 550 250k guarantee and finished 6th for $10,000. And I am going to be taking you guys through the hands that played a pivotal role in my victory, give you my thought process, break them down a little bit. You guys are guaranteed to learn something. You're going to love this video. Please stay till the end. I got other things to talk about as well. I know for a fact you're going to enjoy this one. Let's get into it. Final 8 has been decided. We get the final table draw, and the poker gods decided to give me the maximum amount of test of my ICM skills, because not only did they put the only other competent player, in my opinion, on my direct left, but he also happens to be the clear chip leader, and I'm clearly second in chips. In addition to having him on our direct left, it's also at a time where the two shortest stacks are both sub 2 big blinds, basically. The big blind in his hand has 185k at 80k big blinds, so 2.25 bigs, and Luna Kitty, who's in the low jack, has 1.25 bigs. We also have two stacks sub 8 big blinds. The small blind in his hand has 6 big blinds, 6.5 big blinds. The under the gun player has about 7.25 big blinds. So maximum amount of ICM pressure on my stack being 2 of 8. Now there is some upside to us winning some chips, especially from the chip leader, because we can become the clear chip leader at a time that we get to put max ICM pressure on the bulk of the table. So we actually have more of a risk premium to risk chips than, let's say, the third and fourth player here, because they have a more than 2-to-1 deficit against the chip leader. So there is some maneuverability allowed with our stack, some risk that can be taken, but not. Still, we have to be careful, because at the end of the day, the reality is the difference between now and first place is something like $30,000. I think we had like 3K locked up. It's 33K to first, give or take. And money is real. So, yeah, we still have to be careful. So, the very first hand, they decide to put us in the blender here and give us ace jack O, a hand that has to open. Now, you can see my opening size is 2.4 big blinds, give or take. Why did I not go min? Two reasons. The first main reason is the chip leader's on my direct left. And not only is he on my direct left, but he's on the button in his hand. And I want to disincentivize him to be able to flat in position and play wide, a wider range, and be able to put an immense amount of pressure on me post flop. That's the biggest concern here, is he can literally flat 10-9 offsuit and jack 10-0 and just win on a lot of flops, right? We're gonna have to check to him a lot. He's gonna be able to bet jam, just put us in the absolute blender. So we want to disincentivize flats from him, and we also don't want to allow the big blind to be able to just call and actually get away from the flop if he wants to, or stop and go us. Even though it's such a short stack, we want to force him to be all in pre, especially with a hand as good as ace jack go. We're obviously priced in to call the small blind. These are all things I consider before I raise. Is is my hand good enough to get all in with the big blind? Obviously. Is my hand good enough to get all in with the small blind? Obviously. So these are scenarios I've already considered in my mind. I am expecting to get 3-bet by this guy still a shit ton of the time. He's going to be relatively polar here because he can play flats for sure, can flat in position and put us in a world of pain post flop if he wanted to. So his 3-betting size should be larger. He doesn't go that large here. I think it should probably be like 8 big blinds, given that I'm second in chips and can decimate his stack. He goes something like 6.5. I mean, it's realistically fine. And the small blind and big blind do end up folding. Now, because it's like one of those situations where you're expecting him to 3-bet and then he obliges. And some of you might be saying like, oh, like he just is going to be so wide here, just 4-bet jam. And that might be the best play. There's two reasons that it's good. There's the risk premium of, if we shove and he folds, we're now the chip leader. We now take control of a final table that I can put immense ICM pressure on him and the bulk of the table. However, there is the downside that if we shove, he still has strong hands in his range, just because he's supposed to likely 3-bet here and is expected to 3-bet here wider than like a normal chip EV spot, given how much pressure he can put on us specifically, doesn't mean that he doesn't still have some good hands. And I am not in the position here to want to risk all my chips and bust eighth when there is so many short stacks. We could just fold and maneuver and find our way. That's not necessarily the best way to always play, but the sim does, for the most part, agree. There was some shoving in the sim. There was actually some peeling, which I was a little surprised to see, and a bulk of it of the decision was folding. Um, and that's what we decided to do here. We decided, it's the first hand of the final table. We can find the better spot, and we could find ways to maneuver and still win this tournament without putting all our chips in the middle. And unfortunately, he now increases his chip lead relatively significantly, and we reduce our chip stack to be a further gapped second in chips. No big deal. We move on. We'll find a way to get the W, which we do. So maybe this fold was actually the clearly best play if we're going to be results oriented. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let's go on to the next. All right. We'll keep this one quick. No reason to dwell on this hand too long, but let's think about this. This is two hands later. Not much has changed. If you can see, the big blind from the hand with the ace jack hand is now on the button. He has 41,000 in chips, and the under the gun player has sub one big blind with 72,000 in chips. And we get dealt king queen offsuit. We're still second. We still have the aggressive chip leader on our left. What are you doing? Are these reasons just to fold, or do we still have to kind of open and hope it gets through somehow? Let me know what you guys would do. It feels like we are just burning money by opening here. But I couldn't help myself. I'd much rather have a hand like King Queen O and open here than even like pocket nines. It's nice to have some high card removal if we think about the Orleans 1944 and how he's going to respond to our open. He's likely to use high cards for his three bets if he decides to shove. It's going to be more of a high card distribution. So having a king, having a queen are good cards to have. I'd rather have king jack, king 10 than pocket nines, pocket eights, pocket sevens. Ace nine offsuit would be arguably a better open than pocket eights, pocket nines, right? With that being said, knowing that we're going to likely face aggression from Orleans here, should we just fold king queen and save the two big blinds, or should we be planning to four bet jam if this is like the fifth time he's doing it? It's only the second time, but he does find the shove this time, which is obviously a disaster for us. We open to min because now he's not in the best position to be able to flat as wide as he was before when he's on the button, so we can risk the absolute minimum. Also, we cover the big blind, so where we want to disincentivize him from flatting in that hand, if he's ever in the big blind hypothetically and we're opening into his big blind, the chip leader's big blind, we would open bigger. On the flip side, when we're opening into a stack that we cover, that we can put pressure on, we want to incentivize defends. Why? Because we are going to increase our EV post flop from the ICM pressure. So we're happy to play pots post with that player. We don't want him to fold pre if we can avoid it. So we open to min, make it easy. Let's go on to another hand. We do end up folding here, of course. It folds back to us. There's not much we can do with the dynamics here. And a hand as weak as King Queen O. Let's move on. So this is another interesting hand. As you can see, the player wanted underscore whatever his name was, the half big blind player from the last hand, has finally busted. We're now down to 7 players. Luna Kitty has chipped up slightly from before, has 180,000 in her stack, assuming it's a she by the name, but who the fuck knows. It does fold to Luna Kitty, who does go all in here, and it folds to us. Now we're in the small blind with Ace Jack Go. What would you guys do? Let me know again in the comments before I say what I did, what I think is correct. Go down. Let me know what you think. Now, there's a multitude of things to consider. Instinctively, intuitively, I think a lot of you are going to say, why is this even a decision? You just shove an ISO and get the big blind to fold. What you have to think about is if you shove, is the big blind going to fold hands that would otherwise not fold if we did something like clicking? For example, if we shove, he's still going to call with aces and kings and queens and jacks and ace king and ace queen. He's still going to probably call tens. He's still going to, these are all the hands, by the way, that if we make it 400,000 are also still going to shove. Hands that we don't want to get all in against, that we're dead against. We still have to consider the fact that we are still second in chips. We have a now 4 big blind stack. The blinds are still 80K, so 4 or 5 big blind stack, 5 big blind stack. Over here, the all-in player is sub 2.25 big blinds, give or take. So we definitely don't want to bust this hand, and we want to decrease the amount of risk that's being taken here as much as possible. By making it 400,000 here in the small blind, we will still have hands as strong as ace king suited and pocket aces and pocket queens, pocket kings. However, we also have hands as weak as ace jack O. What if we had ace 10-0? What if we have ace 9-0? Are we really folding ace 9-0? No. Are we going to shove? No. What can we do? We can click it. We can make it 400,000 with our entire range or the bulk of it. I mean, there's definitely some hands that probably benefit from shoving here to fold out certain hands that might find the jam trying to get us to fold better. I still don't think the average player, even good players, are going to look down at a hand like ace 8 suited or offsuit here and be like, let me get him the small blind to fold ace jack O. Let me shove and isolate the all in player. I just don't think that happens. So I think this decreases our risk. The results would end up being the same almost always, and we don't run into it. We get to preserve 1.6 million in chips while still isolating the all in stack. We don't want to just call and let him in. We want to definitely get this heads up all in, because if we just call, he's going to have position on us post flop. I already explained the negatives of having the chip leader in position on you post flop. We're going to have to just like check fold a lot. So I think this is by far the best play, and the sim did agree. It was clicking to about the same amount, I believe. I believe I nailed the spot. Yeah, so it's just that simple. We do end up calling. Now, how do we end up winning a tournament when we can't win a fucking hand? You'll have to find out and stay tuned, but let's go on to another interesting spot. The D-Last community was asking for it. We finally did it. We started our own community poker club. We're running cash games and tournaments every single day. And now, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we are running a $50 no-limit hold'em weekender tournament. And I am giving 3 members of my Discord a free entry into this tournament every single week. If you want to have a chance to participate and or join the poker club and just have a good time playing with a bunch of DGens, join the Discord now. Look for the next relevant spot of this final table. We're now down the 4-handed. Yes, I haven't won a pot. Literally have not won a single pot up to this point. Have been patient, waiting to take my spot and find a way to get victory on this tournament. When we get dealt pocket sixes in the big blind off our 13 big blinds now, the big blind has jumped up from 80K to 90K, now to 100K. It's 2 levels later. The chip leader has a demanding chip lead with 65 big blinds opens. We are now 3rd in chips. The 2nd in chips is on the button here with 16 big blinds. The small blind has 11 big blinds, including his small blind of 50,000. And again, we have 13.5 big blinds, we'll say, with pocket sixes. He opens, it folds to us. What are you doing? Is this a black and white spot? Just always shove or not? It actually isn't. And you might be surprised to learn. Sixes does shove here, but not always. Not every single time. I have the sim to prove it, I swear. 6s, 5s, 4s is not always wanting to shove. You do play some calls. Now, the issue is that the chip leader's range is going to have hands that are open shoving. When that's the case, his range becomes polar when he doesn't open shove. When he just min raises, that's going to consist of really, really, really good hands like aces, kings, queens, ace, king suited, etc. Hands that want to induce shoves behind, and the absolute bottom of his range. In between that, all the suited variety are just going to be open shoving here, and it's going to get through a shit ton. And because of that, it makes hands like sixes on the edge of wanting to shove or just defend, because it's a major, major problem if we're shoving and just getting snapped off by hands we're dead from. We also don't want to have removal on his raised folds, which 5s and 4s tend to do, and more so than 6s, which is why 5s and 4s will generally just defend, and 6s will mix calls and shoves because it has some removal on the absolute bottom of his opening range, but just not enough where it's still fine to shove. It's also the easier play. I do just that. I do find the jam, And thankfully, he pretty quickly snap folds. Let's move on to the next hand. All right, here's an interesting one. And it's interesting because what I actually ended up doing was a misclick because I was hesitating, and I'll explain. But we have ace king suited here. We're now virtually tied for second in chips with Novins over here. The third place stack has about 10 big blinds. This is like two hands after that six and shove. And we have ace king suited. We start off here with a limp. Now, there's definitely a bulk of hands that we want to just open shove here. Is going to be hands that we want to limp here. I don't think we have any hands that just want to raise, maybe some. And then we obviously have a lot of hands that just want to fold. We do limp though, and we face an ISO, a raise by the chip leader here to 2.5 big blinds. Right now, comment below, what would you do with ace king suited in this spot? And this is where I started hesitating, and the time is clicking. I was between shoving or inducing by clicking back, but then if I click back, how big do I go? And as a result, I end up literally misclicking and doing the stone min raise to 400k, I believe, because he raised. I limped to 100. He makes it 250. I raised the 400. What I was intending to do was to go to 500, was to do a 2x his total raise size, which is the correct play. The sim wants to limp, make it 5-ish big blinds, not 4. However, he folds anyway. And that's why you go so small here. His range is obviously insanely polar. It's going to have a lot of garbage. And then he's going to have some hands that versus this click back is going to shove. Whatever. It was a misclick. It was kind of funny in the moment that it still worked out anyway. But in a massive spot, I almost just knocked over glass. But in a massive spot, I'm misclicking and getting away with it. Ace king suited. Pick up a 500,000 total chips. Securing second in chips now. Yeah, I'm going to run through this hand really, really quickly. But Novins up here is the now 4-4. He has half a big blind left. He just lost an all-in versus massive well, which puts us now into third of 4 in the big blind with about 17 big blinds and ace 10 offsuit. Orleans, the chip leader, the clear still chip leader, has 64 big blinds. Open jams, and Novins finds the call. We do end up folding ace 10-0 here. My question is, should I have folded? And if so, what would be the worst ace X you would call? What's the worst pocket pair you would call? Let me know below what you think. I'm not going to give it away in this video what the answer may be. Ace 10-0 folding here may be a mistake. I haven't run the sim yet. I haven't looked. I honestly forgot about this hand entirely. I think in game it felt pretty clear just to fold. Now, the main reason is you have to think about the result of what would happen if we double. And if we double, we would just be second in chips. We wouldn't put ourselves in that much better position to win this tournament. If it guaranteed a chip lead, I think ace 10-0 has the risk premium here to bust fourth, to take the risk to double. But because the result of the hand doesn't change our position all that much, he would still have a pretty demanding chip lead. I think that's what led to me folding in game. Either way, he has queen jack suited and he holds. We're now three-handed. This next hand is another quick one I want to bang through, but it's about a spot I've been dying to address. When people nowadays are doing something where they shove all in but leave back one chip, which makes a lot of sense in a lot of chip EV spots, because obviously if you get called and you're able to check it down to the river and preserve that one chip, you can spin it back up, and that chip is worth a lot more than 0. However, when you're on a final table, what you're actually supposed to be doing is not shoving and leaving back one chip, because that really does nothing for you in the future of the tournament, but putting in half your stack or 60% of your stack. For example, if we had 10 big blinds in this spot on the button, we can put in 5 big blinds. That is effectively shoving. It has the same impact as putting in 9.5 big blinds or 10 big blinds. By putting in 5 big blinds, the big blind, I'm saying big blind a lot, but the big blind can no longer defend. And if Orleans in the small blind shoves all in, and then the big blind, massive whale, still goes all in as well, we can assume that massive whale's range is extremely, extremely tight, extremely narrow, and there's a bulk of hands in our range that would now just happily fold and preserve half of our stack to play, on with the tournament and still have a maneuverable stack and not be forced all in the very next hand. Now, when we get short to like 6 or 7 big blinds like we currently are, That's not necessarily the option. We don't want to go half our stack because that's only like 3 big blinds. He can just defend, right? But we can go 65% of our stack in this case, leave back 260k, and that gives us about 2.5 big blinds, give or take, to be able to still see another few hands and potentially spin up a stack. And that would only be if the small blind jams, the big blind jams. Now, ace queen, either way, is probably just going to go all in. But you can see this size makes it so that he has to basically make a decision right now. Is he going all in or is he going to fold? He can't call, so we're not going to go post flop. And so we're effectively shoving. But if it went all in, we preserve some chips we can play on and still potentially spin up a stack and win the tournament. He does end up folding. We pick up some chips. He had 7 deuce. Let's go on. Here's another quick example of putting in half our stack. Because again, if he goes all in and the big blind goes all in, we can assume that sevens is basically dead here because I don't think he's putting in sixes. And it's going to be like ace king and ace queen and definitely eights plus for sure, right? So what do? I put in 60% of my stack. He does end up folding, but it allows me to, if I wanted to, fold if it goes all in, and still have 400k at 120k big blind and be in a very comfortable position to play on. Just to show you a quick hand of us doubling up, obviously we have a very clear all in from the small blind. We do get called by 10-9 offsuit. He flops a 9, but we rip off the Barry ace on the river. 1.74 million in chips. We're now tied for second effectively, and the beginning of our run up to the victory. All right, let's just bang through towards the end of this final 3. We're now officially 2 of 3, it looks like, give or take. We go for the min raise steal with king 10-0, king 7-0. He jams, we fold. We're gonna fold here. We obviously fold here. He's getting shorter. And here it is. The pivotal hand up to this point. This is the biggest spot of the tournament for me. The small blind jams. We have ace 10-0. We have a clear cut black and white call. What is he going to turn over? Oh no! He's got the 5-3 offsuit. Yup. That's what happens in a $550, 150k guarantee. Final 3. And we got the second in chips shoving 5-3 offsuit into the big blind. Unfucking believable. We turn him stone dead. The best fucking run out you could. No, not even a little bit of a sweat. The flop was, he had a gutter, but the turn, he's dead as a doornail. We make a flush, and we're now heads up with 3.2 million in chips versus 7.5 million. He hits us with the wow on the way out. No joke. The very next hand, we get dealt pocket threes, and our buddy Orleans 1944, he was first in chips, wire to wire. We were second in chips. We're now both heads up, as expected, and we get dealt pocket threes, but he puts the deal flag up, and I start to consider, is it worth battling heads up? I would have secured like 28k, and first was 33k. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I decided I'm gonna explore the deal option. I click accept deal, but this hand was already dealt. Now I want to ask you something. So we have 20 big blinds, but the deal flag is up. I can secure a certain amount. What do? He doesn't put the deal flag down. I decide to go with the lip, and he goes for the big raise, but he doesn't put the deal flag down. You would think if he has aces, he's going to pull the deal. Why would he want to do a deal when he has aces, right? So I sit there, and I tank, and I tank, and I tank, and I say, he doesn't got it. He doesn't have it. I shove, but he snaps me off with king, queen, suited, and we flop a straight draw. He turns a flush draw, but we hold on the river. And we, for the first time of the final table, take the chip lead, but the deal flags are already up. We see the deal. We lock up virtually, barely under first place money at 30,000 and change. We take it. We say, you know what? I'm happy with it. He takes his amount of about 27,000, whatever it may be. We secure the victory. secure a massive score for the start of what was one of my best weeks in many, many months. Let's fucking get it. Stay tuned. I got a sick vlog coming out this week, a $2,200 tournament at that same underground spot that the last two vlogs are at. We got a lot going on. Please join the Discord, follow the Kick. The Kick now is kick.com DLAZ live, DLAZ_live. The Discord will take you everywhere. Check it out. Peace. Come play with the chicken burgers. Adios.